We've got this amazing indictment with Robert Mueller, and I just want to mention, to get your reaction to it, because not just because for yourself as a citizen, but also as a technology leader, you see the use of technology by Russia outlined in this indictment to change the course of history.
Right. Well, my first reaction is, why wouldn't they? Of course they're going to try to use technology. I mean, we market products, and there's global efforts to push and influence U.S. citizens. So why wouldn't they try it? The second is, where's Facebook, where's Twitter, where's Google, and trying to recognize what's obviously very extreme. It shouldn't have to go to the Justice Department, as a where's the FTC? I mean, when you do a politically driven ad or any type of political ad, you have to identify it as a political ad. Where's the FTC in catching them as they happen? Right. Because it's not like it's going to stop all of a sudden. They're just going to try to be even sneakier about it.
Well, we know that it's ongoing right now with a look at the next election. But it's also, it was interesting to me at least to read the indictment and see how focused it was really around supporting one candidate.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for whatever reasons that we don't know to this point, they wanted to support President Trump and get him elected. It'd be great to be a fly on the wall to hear what Vladimir Putin had to say about him. But I don't think you can expect anything different. I don't think it'll ever change. And I'm guessing that, in our own way, America's doing some of the same things in Russia.
Do you think that there's the responsibility of technology companies to do something different, and that we will have technology that's different in the future? And let me offer an example. You had Tinder, and you had a woman leave Tinder to start Bumble, which is a more responsible thing that gave women more empowerment and led to a different kind of conversation around dating online. I think that's really positive for the future of social media. I wonder if there's hope that there will be something after Facebook and Twitter that will also be more positive.
I don't think people will leave those platforms simply because there's so much fake news or there's extremist positions. I think it's incumbent on Facebook and Twitter, et cetera, Google, to start identifying them. Right, I said it on Twitter. There should be a human, an authorized account behind any pseudonym-driven account. Right. So if it's 10_GOP and it's from Russia, there needs to be an individual there somewhere. Now, there's risks associated with that because there are people in foreign countries that are under authoritarian rule and they want to be able to express themselves. But I think we can use third-party authentication and verification that's separate from Twitter, so it's not all controlled by Twitter, Google, or Facebook, or whoever, so that you can enable those folks, or someone who's in a battered situation or very unfortunate situation, to be able to communicate with a pseudonym and anonymously to get help. But there are technical opportunities to do that. I think Twitter and Facebook have to take responsibility, and it's in their own best interest to do so, because it's not like the Russians were spending tens of millions of dollars a month.
Looks like it. It looks like they weren't.
No, it looks like they were spending tens of thousands a month. It's ridiculously small amounts of money, and we can't really, correlation isn't causation, obviously, and so we can't really say it had a dramatic impact, because as extreme as these accounts may have been, so was the organic campaign.
But why wasn't Facebook and why wasn't Twitter constructed from the get to work like that?
Because 10 years ago, 14 years ago, who would have perceived it? I mean, Facebook started off with just EDU accounts to find hot girls.
Right.
Twitter was at South by Southwest to inform people of events. And so I don't think anybody envisioned it going to this extreme, and it's just a law of unintended consequences. But if Twitter, Facebook, Google, et cetera, don't take a stand to start to deal with these issues, then for better or worse, I think they'll be forced to.
Well, but your earlier contention was no one's going to leave the platform because of fake news. Why would they be forced to?
No, I'm talking about from a government perspective.
Interesting.
Right, because we see what's happening in government right now, where it's so partisan, it's so tribal, and everybody wants to take a stance to protect their team, right? That if there's already all this animosity about Russia in Congress, why wouldn't the Republicans in particular say, okay, Facebook, we're gonna make you deal with this, or there's going to be consequences. Twitter, and maybe this might be the one, and I could be wrong, maybe it'll be bipartisan. Let's protect ourselves against this happening in future elections. Facebook, Twitter, what are you going to do?
So when you look at this, as you do this TV show about investing,
right?
It's really fun.
Shark Tank.
Really?
Yeah.
And you also are a very active investor on the side. When you look at investments, do you try to look for investments that will look at a sort of a new era of social media? Is that something that interests you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got Dust Messaging, I've got the Mercury Protocol. There's a company called FactMata out of the UK that analyzes and spits out what we perceive to be as incorrect or fake news. And so and artificial intelligence is
So how does that one work? Explain the company.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. So
you brought it up.
I know. So effectively, it uses AI to go through and do a whole series of analytics to
artificial
determine.
Intelligence.
Yeah. So to do a whole series of analytics to determine the likelihood that something is fact-based or not. And we're talking to Google. We're talking to Facebook, I believe. I don't believe we're talking to Twitter. And there's others who do comparable things. It's never going to be perfect, but look, I look at it like porn. Right, YouTube, you don't see
porn.
Can't
wait to see where this goes.
Yeah, well, on YouTube, you don't see porn every 2 minutes, right? It's not like, oh, you run into it and then the community, notifies them and they take off. They have humans that intervene, right? I think they're going to have to.
Well, this is always my contention. They couldn't figure out who's behind the counts, but they sure figured out how to cash the check.
Well, yeah.
So on some level, there were efforts put in there to make some system work.
And yes, and there's typically human intervention, right? There's people that go through and look through for the worst of the worst on YouTube, and I don't think they've really done that on Twitter or Facebook, and I think they're going to have to start having human intervention.
So going forward, as you look at these investments, do you see these kind of as bolt-on things, or things that'll be, not as big a platform as other things you've been involved in, like the Mavs, like Yahoo?
Well, no, it just depends. You hope all of them turn a lot bigger than that. Look, I think there's opportunity. I don't know necessarily that there's going to be a replacement social network. I think there's just certain things that those mainstream networks are going to have to do. For the most part, I mean, Facebook's ubiquitous, YouTube's ubiquitous, Twitter not nearly as much, but it's still, a big force in media. And so they're going to have to take steps. I don't think you can just invest around them and say, well, let's hope Twitter buys us, or let's hope Twitter licenses our technology. I think they have the sense that they have to do it themselves, and I think they're right.
Let me switch topics here. We were talking in the hallways. We were talking about cryptocurrency and about blockchain and blockchain technologies, and you were saying it's old news already.
Yeah, I mean, blockchain is a given. It's been a given for a long time. It's just now with the pricing out and the day trading of cryptocurrencies, a lot more people are interested in it.
Right.
But there's nothing dramatically different about what's been going on with blockchain 3 years ago versus now, and it'll continue to be a component in software development. There's a lot of improvements that need to be made to Bitcoin to improve transactions. Same with Ethereum.
So Bitcoin transactions are taking 20 minutes to days, depending on how much you want to pay for.
No, I mean, I think it's Lightning. They've sped up considerably, right? And Ethereum's got their own solution as well. So there are things that are being tested that can speed up transactions. So I don't see that as being a long-term problem. It really comes down to where will the adoption be, and whether future blockchain utilization will use the public blockchain, or the public Bitcoin blockchain, or Ethereum blockchain and smart contracts, or develop their own and use internal.
Well, and I want to get your take on that too. All these ICOs, some of them are patently ridiculous, but some are interesting. And I wonder what you think about all these sort of single use case ICOs as opposed to using the currencies that are out there.
The first ICO was seat licenses for football and for basketball, right?
Okay.
You bought a license which gave you the right to do something else.
Right.
And effectively, that's what an ICO is. You buy the ICO, it gives you a right to use the token, right? If you believe that the token has significant value and there's value in you owning it, then do the ICO. If you are buying it just because you think the value of the token is going to go up,
you store value?
Store value, then you're probably making a mistake, and you probably have to question.
Could be a leaky store of value.
Yeah, it could be a very leaky. I mean, it's so, I've invested in two. Mercury, which again, I'm not hyping, and Unicoin, and I'm not hyping either. I'll use my Unicoin to gamble when I'm eligible to, and I'll use my GMT to invest in, to use for social network and for.
What you're eligible to?
Eligible to meaning you can't gamble. I can't gamble at all right now.
Because you own the Mavericks?
Because I own the Mavericks.
Got it.
And it's not legal here in the United States anyways, but obviously Unicorn, and Unicoin is used globally. So if, where I've seen a value in owning the token so that I can use it, then I've been a participant. And I haven't even considered whether or not, I don't even look to see the value. I have no idea what either one's valued at. Yeah.